Good morning, guys. All right, today's day 6. So on Sunday, so you guys know on Saturday and Sunday there'll be recorded videos, and they will be the ones that will finish up our witchy natural Halloween kind of set. So on Sunday, I'll try to post a picture of all of them all together so that you guys can see all of them all together. So I hope everybody's having a good Wednesday so far. I think it's Wednesday. Yeah. Yes, it's Wednesday. So it's supposed to mow the yard today, but it looks like it's going to rain, so I'm just going to let that go. So that's why the hat is on today. So today we're just going to make a little plaque, and we're going to do a little mushroom to go along with, because I feel like mushrooms are kind of the little thing right now with the little witchy Halloween stuff. So today we're just going to make a sign that says Happy Halloween in the toadstool or the mushroom. Okay. So this is just a cookie that I kind of tore off the amount of cookie that I wanted to make, like as big of the cookie as I wanted to make. And then I just rolled it into like a very odd shaped, I did not roll it into a perfect ball. I just kind of like crumpled the dough together, and then I used my rolling pin and rolled it out. So it gave me this kind of rough edge, which is what I'm looking for, a raw edge. You can do this for, like the wood ornaments that you see on Christmas trees. You can do a cookie that looks like that. Or if you have like a woodland themed baby shower, I've seen people do plaques like this with just a natural edge or raw edge on them. So yeah, it's really a cute little thing. They are kind of hard to do. It's not, you think it's easy to create a raw edge, but it's not really. So like I said, I just kind of took off some dough, and then I just kind of like pushed it together a little bit and then rolled it out. And I think I did it a few times to get the shape I wanted, because you kind of have to use your rolling pin to roll different areas so that it turns into a circle or, whatever shape you're going for. If you're looking for maybe like a long, skinny, rectangle-ish shape to make a sign on, you could do that. But this is like, it's a little bit harder than it looks. But it came out cute. Again, I probably had to do it 3 or 4 times to get it to be the right shape that I wanted, but it worked. And today's cookie, this one I went through and remember I showed you guys all those stickers that I had found. So this is the one that is kind of the inspiration behind this cookie. And I don't know why, but I was having struggling to figure out how to do this last night and today. So hopefully this works. I was struggling with how I wanted it to look and how to get there, So you could definitely cover this whole thing white, and then you could go in watercolor the black on the background to make it look like the black night sky, and then do it on top. I was wanting a more rough edge with actual icing. So I'm just going to use my Frankenfrosting, and I'm basically going to kind of like scrape it on to make it look a little bit more rough or rustic. Hi, Jan. Hi, Sandra. So again, I'm just kind of using some Frankenfrosting that I've had, that I've been using for the past few days. I'm just going to take I have like a big spreader, and you could use like any sort of scraper or any sort of like stencil scraper, anything like that. But I'm just going to kind of put some of this down here. And again, I'm using the Frankenfrosting because I know it will dry quickly, and that's kind of what I was going for, is I really would like it to dry fairly quickly so that I can get to work on it. So we'll see if this works. If not, it's just I'm going to have to make it work, because we all know that if you use black icing for anything, it has to work or not. So I'm just kind of scraping this on. Sorry, it was off camera. I'm just kind of scraping this on. I'm not being too perfect. And the edges, I'm not too concerned with. I want them to kind of still be a little bit raw. So I'm just going to kind of do the edges first. And then I'll come back and kind of scrape some more onto that middle. Plus it gives me something to hold on to while I'm scraping right now. And again, I'm just kind of eyeballing this. Hi, Gigi. So Frankenfrosting is just glaze icing with royal also. So it's basically half royal, half glaze. It is a great icing to use if you still want the taste of glaze or kind of the bite of glaze, but you want the drying ability of royal, because we all know that that is what we love about royal, is the drying ability of it. Now there are some, hi Gigi, there are some, obviously some states and stuff like that you can't use any royal, any meringue powder. So if that's the case, you can always use detail glaze, which is just glaze with some fat added to it, or just let it dry. Like I'm using Frankenfrosting. I do not use Frankenfrosting for the most part. It's also called Sweet Hope icing. I just have always called it Frankenfrosting because you're basically like pushing two things together. So I just have always called it Frankenfrosting. But I think a lady over at Sweet Hope, Baking Sweet Hope, or one of those, she kind of coined the term for her icing or trademarked her icing. So again, I'm just wanting this to look very raw, very like natural. I don't really want any stiff, tight corners. I don't want it to be perfectly outlined. And I don't even want the scrape marks to be all the same direction. So I kind of have keep turning this and just kind of taking my spatula and just kind of, and you could even, like I just did there, run your finger along it and it would probably come off. Hi, Cheryl. Oh, thank you. I think it just comes from me being a teacher for, so long. And I was a teacher for little kiddos or, like younger kiddos. So I feel like when you're a teacher of younger kiddos, you really have to be really good at your explanations and you have to be pretty quick about it because they have a very short attention span. So I got good at being very precise and concise. So like it was just very to the point. But yeah, I appreciate those words of nice comments. It's so nice to see that in the morning. Good morning, Pam. Okay, so I really want to just let this dry because I think I want to paint the moon and stars that are on the little sticker. So I think I want to do those as painted ones. I don't know if I'll do this. Oh, yes, I am. So I'm going to do the spray down here, but I'm going to use a crystal instead of the mushrooms because we're making another mushroom. So I figured, so I want to let this dry so that I can kind of come back and paint with some white. All right, 30 years. I don't know how you did that for 30 years. I mean, we all know that if you're teaching, you love it. And I do love it. I hated the politics of it. I think people have heard me say that before. But yeah, I definitely miss my kiddos and most chances I get, I'm right back in it. That's why I love teaching cookie classes because it allows me to kind of do both, have fun and teach still. So I'm gonna let this dry. I'm really gonna hope it dries a little bit faster than glaze will. If you did this with glaze, it would still really work. There's really nothing that wouldn't work about just using regular glaze. And the fact that you're putting a thin layer of icing on this cookie probably would dry just quickly as well. You could put a fan on it or whatever, but I'm just gonna use what I've got. And what I had was the Frankenfrosting, so we're gonna use that. Okay. I know, right? I wish I didn't teach. My first school district that I did that, I could do that. My second school district that I taught in was not that type of school district. So we definitely, I mean, I guess I could say it, like we just weren't allowed to use our degree for what we went to school for. We were handed notebooks and we were told that we were to teach the notebooks and that they had more research in what they were telling us to teach than we had in our, tool belt as a teacher. So we were instructed to teach exactly the way that the notebook said to teach. And so, yeah, that was really hard, especially for someone who's creative and I love curriculum. I probably should have went into curriculum, but it was always fun to create curriculum and create fun things and search out and seek out and find things that were fun, but that wasn't really allowed. It's probably more allowed now, but when I was teaching, like it just wasn't. You taught to the test and that was pretty much it. So it's my little 2 cents there. Oh, it's okay. You know what? It is what it is. I know they had the best interest of everybody at heart at that time. You know how that goes. It's just kind of ebbs and flows of like what we should be doing and what we are doing. So, and being that I had moved, I didn't want to mess up that chance of having a job. So you know how that goes. It's okay. So yeah, this is our little mushroom. This mushroom is from Bobbi's Cutters. Isn't it so cute? It's a little toadstool. So cute. I must have black underneath of my glove. Oh, there we go. Okay. It made my fingernail look weird. All right. So this little toadstool, little mushroom from Bobbi's Cutters. I love that it's so like fat. It's so cute. I just love it. So I'm going to do just a really simple mushroom. It's not going to be anything that's too crazy. I haven't really made any colors. You guys have seen, like, we've done what, 4 cookies now, 3 cookies for this one. And well, just 2, right? This is our 3rd. Okay. So I haven't done any colors. It's just been black and white and a little bit of green, right? So I went ahead and mixed up some purple and some Wedgwood. So this is Wedgwood from AmeriColor. It does have a little bit of ivory in it just to kind of deepen it a little bit so that it's not so bright, Wedgwood. This is a little bit of Regal Purple and eggplant. So the eggplant obviously pulls down that brightness of Regal Purple. I could have also put ivory in there. It would have also darkened it a little bit, deepened it a little bit. But I figured these 2 colors were pretty good to go along with our kind of natural witchy theme. And then I'll use the leaf color, that sage green that we've been using. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the purple as the actual mushroom cap. And then I'm going to use that Wedgwood blue to do some of the like dots inside the mushroom. So I'm just going to cut this off. And this is just regular glaze. Both of these are just regular glaze. So nothing added to them. They are just powdered sugar, corn syrup, and water. And I wanted to kind of make this kind of go up a little bit. And I had already done the white earlier this morning just so that it would show some difference, so that it would show some separation and they didn't run together. We all love glaze, but we all know that it definitely just runs together when you put 2 right next to each other. So I did this about an hour ago. So it should be nice and dry enough to hold its shape against there. So now I'm just going to go back and flood this. It is a very dreary day here in Kansas City. I don't know how I'm going to get everything done. It's always, I love dreary days, but it's always kind of one of those times when you're like, okay, but I have a lot to do today. I can't just sit and enjoy the dreary. So usually glaze goes nice and smooth. I'm assuming this may have a little bit of royal in it. Normally it doesn't act like this. So I'm going to carefully kind of shake it. I had to make some white for our letters today. So there was a little bit left in the bowl, but I didn't think it was that much. So normally glaze will just go flat. You don't have to do any of that I just did where I tapped it and all that. Normally you don't have to do that. Normally it just goes nice and smooth. All right, so now I'm going to put some dots on it. We all know mushrooms have some sweet little dots. And I'm going to go with bigger ones first. I know I'm going to try to be very random with them. I don't think they will. Y'all know how I am about random things. Doesn't always work out in my favor. I am definitely not a random polka dot kind of person. That's okay. Let's scoot it over a little bit. Okay. So now I'm just going to kind of go through and put some, maybe some little bit bigger ones. Okay. And I'm going to try to put a few like on the edge of the mushroom so that it looks like they're on the edge here. This is going to be a nice little addition to our little set. It'll be so cute. Okay, and then I'm just going to go through with just some tiny dots. Sure, Sandra, if you'll give me just a second, let me do the tiny dots. Tiny dots take a little bit more concentration. So glaze icing is, there are basically like 3 main icings in the cookie world. There, and I would say even probably in the cake world, but I don't think you use, anyway. Okay, so there's buttercream, there's royal icing, and there's glaze icing. So buttercream is what we all know as buttercream. It is just simply buttercream that you put on a cookie. A lot of the times people that use buttercream, their cookies, you can see the buttercream because you can't really get it too smooth. So a lot of times they'll just keep their lines in their buttercream. It tastes delicious. It's really fun to work with. I've worked with it before. You can't get as, like as perfect of a cookie. Like you could do the mushroom, but it would be, you would see the lines and everything. So it's really a great icing, but it doesn't get as artistic, let's say. You can still get artistic. I hate to say that because buttercream artists are amazing, and I could never do everything that they do. But so there's buttercream. It looks different than all the others. So then you've got royal icing, which is made with powdered sugar and meringue powder and water. And basically royal icing, like I have some here, and it's what I used on the cookie a second ago. Royal icing has meringue powder in it, which allows it to dry quickly, but it also allows it to get nice and kind of fluffy. So that's why you'll see royal icing cookies at Starbucks and Target and all those places. And they're nice and puffy and they look really pretty. That's the meringue powder. And there's benefits to all the icing. There's drawbacks to all the icing. The royal icing dries very quickly. You can work very quickly. You can do quite a bit more detail stuff and also, again, working quickly through that. It, however, has kind of a crunch to it. It has a different bite or mouth feel to it than glaze does and then buttercream does. So it just depends on like taste-wise what you're wanting, okay? And then you've got glaze, which is what I use, which is just powdered sugar, corn syrup, and water. So there's no egg in it at all. There's no meringue powder in it. So it's a good vegan option if you have people that need to have vegan or people have egg allergies. It's a great icing to include because you can always make cookies egg-free and dairy-free. So having a dairy-free, egg-free icing is sometimes nice to have. Glaze is very easy to use. For the most part, I know the purple didn't go smooth, but for the most part, when you pipe it on, it just goes nice and smooth. It is very easy to use. When I taught at CookieCon in Kentucky, basically, I would never want anybody to change from royal to glaze unless that's something that you're having to do or wanting to do. But I still use royal in my Frankenfrosting. I don't use royal on its own, but I still use it with my Frankenfrosting if I'm going for that detail. But glaze is always nice to have because if you have a business and you have like cookie kits or things that you have icing that you give to people to use, glaze doesn't separate in the bag. It never goes bad. I'm not saying royal does, but for those two things, most of the time you have to kind of be careful with royal because it does separate. I just had a bag back behind me that is separating, and that's Frankenfrosting. So glaze doesn't. So you can put it in these bags. You can make it way ahead of time, and it's nice because when you give it to your client and they're doing the DIYs or the cookies on their own and creating their own, it's a little bit easier to use. It does take a lot more hand strength because it is thicker. than Royal. We all know Royal's kind of fluffy and airy, and we love that. Glaze is not that way. It's very thick, but there's some benefits to it. So just in the overall scheme of things, Glaze does not have any egg in it. It has a softer mouth bite. It still dries. So just like Royal dries enough that you can bag it and, stackable and all that stuff, Glaze does that as well. So it just takes a little bit longer. Okay. What is everyone sad about? I don't know. What is everyone sad about? I'm not sure, Wilma. I don't know I don't know if we were sad. I was talking about teaching and how I had quit teaching. So maybe that's what everybody was talking about. But yeah, it was nothing. It was just things happening. So yeah, not sad. Yes, it does bleed, Sandra. So good morning, Rebecca. So problems with glaze, we do have a lot of bleeds. So there's certain rules that you should follow if you're going to use that. We also have craters. So again, there's certain rules that you follow with glaze, and if you follow them, then they tend to avoid those things, but not always. So we definitely have bleed, but for the most part, once you know those rules and once you learn what rules work in your area, because wherever you are might be different from where I am. So in Kansas City, I have a lot more bleed in the winter because it's really dry here. But in the summer, I don't really have it because it's humid here. So regardless of what my house is and what I have in my house, it's still the outside, your temperature outside and your atmosphere outside affects that. So you could have joined us. So definitely just kind of do a little bit of research on glaze. And honestly, the research is, I say this all the time, do your own playing, do some of your own, playing with it, trying it, decorating cookies, putting two dark colors next to each other, putting white and black next to each other, see what happens. See what happens if you put white next to black after the white has completely dried. Look and see what it looks like to put the black next to the white when the white has dried for 3 hours. There's all sorts of things that you can do to help with that bleed. And that's my little trick is I don't wait till they're fully dry. I put them right next to each other, within an hour or two. And then that just helps to keep that way. Also, I always add white. So I always add white to all of my colors, even black. But I will put, if I know that this situation here, this is a dark color against a white, I will put just a little bit more white into that so that it doesn't suck that color from the purple. Okay. Very dry here in California. Okay, good. So this is our little toadstool, super cute. I will probably, when it's dry, I'll probably add some shading to it just so that it doesn't look so white. Everything in this set so far has been not grungy looking, but grungy looking. It just looks very natural, kind of dirty. So I definitely want to make that not so white. So I'll probably put some detail. I might do some shading on the purple just to darken it a little bit. Maybe do some dark spots on the mushroom spots and just kind of darken those up around some sides. But I'll definitely take a picture when that's done. But there's always ways that you can kind of help your cookies all match. I could definitely leave this toadstool the way that it is, but because I'm trying to match this whole set, I want to do some detail work to it. Okay. So I put him. Oh yeah, no worries. Sometimes it's hard. I have a few explanations on my website. So if you go to crconfections.com, there is a tab. I think it says Glaze Icing. There is a tab there that kind of goes through the differences, but sometimes it's just nice to hear it. And I do have a video. I do have a live somewhere. I'm not really sure where it's at. I'll have to go back. I have a live here on my Facebook page that I know it was one of my first lives, maybe last year. I talked about the difference between glaze and what it is and how it works and all that stuff. And all my recipes are on my website. Also on my YouTube channel. I mean, I have quite a bit going on over there. So it's a lot. There's a lot of information out there. So we're going to do this like Happy Halloween sign. So really all I'm doing is just kind of looking to see how I want this to kind of be. And I think I might want it to go this way. I had it going this way. Maybe I'll do that. It doesn't really matter. It's just a sign. It's just going to say Happy Halloween. But I did want to try to paint on some white. Now you could use poppy paints. I just didn't grab them. They're over there. I didn't grab them. So I'm just going to use the Elite color, Sugar Arts Elite color with white. It's just their Elite. It's not their Master Elite. But I figured I have it. And so I'm just going to put some out on the lid. And I'm just going to use water. I think I could probably use alcohol with this one since it's an Elite. The Elite colors can use alcohol. The Master Elites cannot. But I feel like water will be plenty. I'm not going for a very like bright white. So it's okay if it's kind of shaded and that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to do like a moon. And I'm trying to create like a crescent moon. And again, I can always come back with some ivory. But I'm okay if some of that black from the icing kind of shows through. That's kind of what I was going for. And my paintbrush is picking up quite a bit of black. So, and you could definitely do like a splatter if you wanted to on this to have it look like stars. I'm just going to go around and kind of do some little stars first. So I'm just putting in some dots so that some stars can just look like dots. Okay. And then I'm going to take I'll take my Sinful Cutters. So I'm going to use my Sinful Cutters, like really fine pointed brush to do the stars. So I am terrible at doing stars. So I'm going to do the typical, like that star. So I am terrible at making like real stars. So I acknowledge my downfall. And instead of being frustrated, I'm just going to go with what I know are stars. I know that they're backgrounds. Now you could always stencil this. Would have totally worked if you had like a Starry Night stencil or just even some stars. You could very easily put some stars in with using that. Could have also used a stencil and just like made stars. Sorry. Let's do kind of some of this is going to be covered up with writing, so I'm not too concerned with and you could always make it different colors. You could do, do some yellow stars. You could put some glitter on here. Wash those later. If you had some glitter, you could definitely spray some glitter on here to make it a little bit more. Let's see what that looks like. It may not stick to all of it, but it will stick to some of it. There we go. That's a nice little touch. Now, whether it sticks, I'm not sure. So I just put just a little bit of spray glitter just to kind of give it a little bit of sparkle. I mean, who doesn't want a little bit of sparkle, right? All right, so now I'm going to write Happy Halloween. This is Frankenfrosting again. It is a little bit thicker Frankenfrosting. I went upstairs and thickened it a little bit. A lot of times when I do writing, I will go ahead and put it in a bag with a coupler just so that I can make sure I know what size the hole is. When you're doing writing, it gets really frustrating if you have to keep rebagging because you cut it too big. So I feel like that'll be good. But you can still do it in a disposable bag. If I'm doing an order or, I really need it to be perfect, I definitely do the whole put it in a bag with a tip so that I know that. And 1.5 is like my favorite tip to use for writing because it just creates, it's not too thin, so you're not frustrated with it breaking because sometimes icing breaks. But it's also thick enough that it holds everything and it works really well. So I'm going to write Happy Halloween. And I'm going to do it like happy is going to be uppercase letters, and then Halloween's going to be in like a really like loose script. Yeah. Hi, April. So Pam, today so every Wednesday afternoon, every Wednesday at noon, I do a live also. And so that's when my normal lives are. So this Wednesday, today at noon, I'm going to be talking about airbrushing. So Pam, if you want to join for that one, you can, or watch it later. But today I'm going to be talking about Airbrush Liquids and what liquids I like and use. And I got some new ones and I'm going to talk about those. So airbrush systems, I will talk a little bit about those also, but really today is going to be more about the liquids and how to use that with glaze. So, okay. Now, if you have trouble, hi, Deborah. If you have trouble with making straight words, there are several different things you could do. You can take your scribe and you can definitely create a line in your icing to write your words on. Now, you're still going to see that line afterwards, but you can do that in stuff like this little icing. You can also take a level, like one of those laser levels that you get at the hardware store or whatever, and you can set it on your desk and you can level a line and shoot a line across your cookie so that you know where to write your words. I don't tend to have trouble with that. Maybe it's just because I wrote on a chalkboard for so long, for a while, but I definitely am able to pretty much. But you also have the options of having a projector. Normally I would get out my projector for this, but I don't want to get it out right now because I have my phone up top there. So I'm just going to eyeball this. And then, like I said, these are going to be uppercase. And then I'm going to do the Halloween in kind of a loose cursive or a loose script. And I usually do my lettering in white for the reason of you can paint white. So if you don't like the white, then I can go back and paint it gold or silver or purple or whatever. So I usually do a lot of my lettering in white, and then I will just go back and paint it. So I'm just going to put some lines to make these fancy letters. Okay. Fancy letters. Yay. And I'll put some at the top. Yeah, and Deborah, I'm pretty sure I heard that, I think, from Andrea Walters. I think at one point she taught a lettering class at CookieCon, and she talked about using a laser level. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's genius. Okay. So I'm just kind of knocking down some of those like peaks that sometimes you get with Frankenfrosting. So Rebecca, on my Frankenfrosting, like for the count for the bead, like how thick it is, I can't do that with royal icing because I don't feel like my royal icing ever settles unless I shake it. So I basically get it, I would say to like a soft peak stage, not stiff peak, but I would get it to some sort of like softer peak stage. You want it thicker. I can feel it thicker in my bag. Whereas my other royal Frankenfrosting stuff that I have in the back there is very loose. I can feel it's very loose. This is a little bit thicker. I want it to hold its shape, and I don't really want it to move and spread any. So I would say it's kind of like soft peak stage. We can definitely I can definitely make a video for that for even the group, the club, because we have writing this month. So why don't I do that? Rebecca, why don't I make a video for all of us too, so we can look at Frankenfrosting and detail glaze. When you're writing, if you aren't sure, like a lot of times I will have it on my computer or on my phone or whatever of what I'm going to write. But this time I don't. We're just winging it. So I like to practice a little bit. First of all, to get whatever your letter down, like what letters you're going to use, how you're going to write them. Sometimes it just helps to have a little bit of help. And it just helps to kind of see, like, do you like all those letters? I don't like the W, so I just like to practice a little bit. Pardon my dogs, there's a squirrel in the backyard. You know, a squirrel. And you could make it, I could pull it apart a little bit more and loosen it a little bit, but I'm happy with it. I want it to be able to be read. And sometimes I feel like that loose script isn't always the best to be read. It's sometimes a little hard to read, especially with longer words. So I'm just going to go with that one. And really, honestly, it's all about just go for it. Now watch, this one's going to be crooked, because I said something about not having trouble with it. Yeah, whatever. It's a natural one, right? So it's okay to be crooked. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Oh, that turned out pretty good. And then you can kind of come back and kind of fix some things if some letters didn't quite connect the way you wanted them to connect. You could definitely do that. That's really cute. I want it to be, I mean, anytime you make a plaque, anytime you make something that you want it to be able to be read, right? You want it to be legible. So it's always kind of nice to have it turn out that way, because I've made plenty that it has not turned out that way. I know. So yeah, and you know, I will say with the writing, so let me get some water. My icing is stuck. So one of the biggest things that I learned with writing really early on with cookies, and even just in general, because I really like to do scrapbooking a while, you know, when scrapbooking was the thing to do for your kids. I used to practice writing, and I still do today. I still take my iPad, I still have my pencil on my iPad, and I still practice. So if you want to get better at writing, you actually have to practice it. So that's the biggest thing. I know sometimes it's frustrating, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to sit here and do calligraphy, but it will help you understand writing and letters a little bit more. I still use the font. I still go on and have to use my projector to do some writing, but it helps your hands and your body get used to that motion of making letters in a certain progression without having to really think about it. So my biggest tip, if you want to get better at writing, is just to practice. Practice on any sort of paper, pencil. There's calligraphy books that you can buy. I bought some off of Etsy one time. They're kind of fun to do just because they have really pretty words and you get to be all fancy. I have an app that I use on my iPad that's just a handwriting app, and it just helps with and especially with the iPad pencil, if you have that, It helps you learn the pressure because you have to apply pressure. So when you do that with the pencil, then you can also apply that to your real pencil. So that's kind of cool. And airbrushing is also not my friend, which you will hear about today. So that's why I wanted to do this. I wanted to do it partly for me, but I also wanted to do it just for, you know, everybody else, because I get that question asked a lot, because glaze is different. Glaze and airbrushing is different. 100%, it is different. And so, yeah, so we're going to talk about that today. Okay, so underneath of here, yes, it's, I will say, like, yeah, like Pam said, like, if you don't think it, I know when a lot of times when I was like, I don't want to take calligraphy, I'm not looking to make like, ooh, fancy letters, but you learn like spatial, you learn height, you know how to make some of your letters bigger and littler in regards to keeping them all the same, like in the eye of your, like in your eye, how to keep them all the same, but how to, where your lines are, just like you learned in school. You had the sky and the land, and then you had the, you know, everything in the middle. So you have that kind of thought process and you learn that kind of stuff. So, okay. So on the, I get sidetracked. I love you all, but I get too sidetracked, and then I'll start talking about something else. Okay. So there is a little like spray underneath of here. So I'm going to do a little spray, and then I have a little piece of rock candy that I wanted to put kind of in the middle here that I painted it gold, because we all need some gold. So if I put that little rock candy there in the middle, then I'm going to want to have a spray here and a spray here. And I'm just putting these lines on here so that I know where to put my leaves. They might be covered up, it might not. Okay. Same thing that I did yesterday with the leaves. I'm just going to do some dots and pull. So I, again, have this Frankenfrosting stuff. So I'm just doing dots and pulling. I'm trying to keep this kind of all the same so that, again, there's certain aspects of each of these cookies that is like the other one so that they will somehow tie together. Okay. So you didn't even see the stem anymore, which is fine. Okay. And then I'm just going to set my little rock gold crystal thing in the middle here. And I'm just going to push down on it slightly. Obviously that Frankenfrosting that's right there is going to hold it on. So I don't have to worry about it going anywhere, but I did want to kind of make sure that it's actually in there. And then you can go back if you want to with your white or anything else, and you could put other things in there. I do think I want to paint the lettering because I think I want it to be some of the color, because the white, while it looks nice and you can see it, I think I want to kind of liven it up a little bit. Ooh. So I'm going to use some purple. I think I'm going to use some purple today, kind of to match our toadstool. Turned out really cute, didn't it? And I'm going to use, I need to get some more like little, I used to have some little paint palettes. Oh, that was, whatever. You ever have that moment where it all just comes out of the thing and you're like, that's not what I wanted to happen. That's not what I wanted to happen. So this is all Sugar Prism paints. These are the powder paints that are meant to look acrylic. So they are meant to look more opaque and not translucent. Okay, so there's all sorts of paints out there, but obviously they all have a different kind of purpose. Okay, so this is not as dark as the icing on our mushroom, but I think it will be okay. You just have to get it mixed up. See, the purple has blue and red in it, but you want to make sure you get that all mixed up. So, and it's just with water. I didn't mix it with alcohol this time. I think I want it a little bit darker. The nice thing about using that Frankenfrosting is that is pretty much dry on there now, so I can go ahead and paint right on top of it. And so that is definitely an awesome thing. Also, another thing about glaze and royal. So glaze icing, you can't do writing like this. Even if you thicken it up, it's still in some of these places will run together. It's like you have to keep that in mind. Glaze loves itself. So it's always going to go with itself. It's almost like a magnet, and it like seeks out other glaze so that it can like go to it and stick with it. So your letters down there in the Halloween word would have probably, they would go together. You wouldn't see the O, it would run together and be just a solid circle. And then like the E's would run together, the L's would run together. So you definitely have limitations. Oh, much better. You have limitations when it comes to that stuff. So you always have to do writing with some other type of icing, whether it's detail glaze with a little bit of fat added to it, or whether it's Frankenfrosting or whatever it is, you have to do something different. Okay. What color now? The blue? Should we do the blue? Should we do the blue? I think so. I'm just going to use a piece of parchment paper. As soon as I'm done, I should probably go get some more little, I need paint palettes. That's what I need, just little paint palettes. Ooh, that's a pretty blue. It's almost like a emerald color. It's really pretty. I wouldn't say that's blue though. Is it supposed to be blue? I have some blue in my paint palette here. Orange, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking like a pretty orange. So let's do that. I'm gonna wash off. This is a really pretty color. It's a sugar prism color. It's really pretty, but it's not it's not blue. It's like a jade, not jade, what color? Emerald? It's like really pretty. So I may have to paint with that. I may have to paint with that at some point in time. Okay, so I'm just gonna wash off my paintbrush real quick. And I'm gonna do what? Lorraine, was that Lorraine? Yeah. I'm gonna do like an orange, but I do want to get just a touch of white so that my orange is a little bit more, and I'll show you. So I'm just using my paint palette in my orange, and I just put a little bit of that white Master Elite in there just to kind of give it a little bit more solidness, opaqueness to it, so that it's not so see-through. Yay. Okay. The mushroom cutter is from Bobbi's Cutters here in Wichita. Well, I don't live in here in Wichita, but here in Kansas in Wichita. If you don't know Bobbi, she's the sweetest thing on the planet. So I think we got it in one of Sweet and Saucy Life's cookie boxes. I think that's where that cutter came from. I love it. I think I've used it several times for any sort of like fairy sets or, you know, gnomes. That's what we got it. We got it with a gnome set. It was cute. All right, so I'm going to put this last little bit on orange. I'll probably paint it again because I definitely want it to be a little bit deeper It looks very translucent. Even though I used a little bit of that white, it still looks very translucent on the actual cookie. So I will probably paint it again, but you guys get the idea. You guys get the idea of what it is. Super cute. You could also obviously use metallics. I could have used some gold in there, for, just to match with that. I think I might put a little bit of yellow in the moon just because I feel like it's in the moon. We're going for a more natural look. So I will be painting this and helping this not look so white. And then I'll kind of touch up the moon a little bit. Probably paint that, but a sweet, cute little addition to our witchy set. I think it's going to all go together very cutely and lovely. So yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed it today. Today was these two. And then tomorrow, I'm not real sure what we're going to, again, I don't know. I think about it at night and then I do it in the morning. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you have a great day today. I hope it's sunny where you are and not dreary outside. So I will see you all tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I hope you have a great Wednesday. Talk to you guys later.